It's a very gray day today, and I actually enjoy it. I think we're expecting a rainstorm later. I love a rainy day. So, I mean, this feels great. Now, remember what I was talking about the other day about that exercise, right? We're talking about choosing ourselves and what can be done, what can we start doing now to move into doing that more, second nature, right? When you are specifically triggered by certain people in your life, that it can help, that it might be a useful exercise, essentially a journaling prompt, I would say, because you do want to like sit down and actually like write this out maybe. But you come up with things that you would rather do by yourself than with that person or with anyone in general, right? Start coming up with a list of things that you rather would do by yourself, fully enjoying your own company in the process, right? An example would be, I would rather go on hikes by myself sometimes, because then it's like my alone time. Just like right now, do I like going on walks with my sister sometimes? Yeah, sure. I like the company. But I also would like to just go by myself, because then I can determine what route I want to take. I can spontaneously change directions whenever I want to, change my route whenever I want to, and not have anybody kind of in my ear about like, I don't want to do that, blah, 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 right? Like, so for example, that is a good reason for me to prefer to do something all by myself. And that way I can enjoy the thing that brings me joy about that is, yeah, I can make spontaneous decisions as I'm taking my walks. Oh my god, there are little bunnies in the yard. Let me just see if I can share them. I don't know if you can see that. And I'm still very new to this. Oh, there we go. I'm still very new to this camera. But anyway, the little bunnies. Look at the two of them. Hey. And if I hadn't gone this way, then I would not have seen that. Okay, maybe zoom right back out. So, yeah, coming up with like a list, and you can start adding to it. It should be like a living document, right? Changing things up a little as things come up, that you're like, you know what, I would rather do that by myself. I would rather sit and have lunch with myself right now because I want to be at peace. I don't want to talk to anybody. I just, maybe you've been doing that all day and you are choosing your peace right now, and you are actively saying, you know what, even though I like that person and I want their attention maybe, or I would like to talk to them or make plans with them or whatever, I'd rather do this right now, just by myself. And like genuinely, if you never really want to do this kind of thing to convince yourself that that's what you want, it should come from a very genuine place. So it will take some genuine reflection. It will take some like active journaling, I would say. You really want to kind of work through this extra consciously, pull it up into your awareness by doing this sort of exercise, right? And that's a physical exercise that you can basically sit down and do. But then I thought about also how simple it can actually be, probably. And we just complicate things for ourselves, being humans, and I guess also being adults too. We like to complicate things for ourselves. But the simplicity of choosing yourself, because what can that look like? I feel like it can happen in the matter of seconds. It comes in the decisions that we make, the micro decisions, you know what I mean? On a day-to-day basis. So, say you're triggered again by a person. They're not around. You're triggered by thinking about what the last interaction you had with them was like. And you're thinking, oh my God, I don't feel prioritized. I don't feel like they care about me. I am so frustrated with the way things are going with them. I can't believe they said that. Going into like a little bit of a spiral, right? And so when you choose yourself in that moment, what that could look like is, first of all, always honoring what you're feeling. What you're feeling is coming from a valid place. Acknowledging that emotion. Okay, we're not trying to force ourselves to get over it. We're not trying to force ourselves to dismiss it or ignore it because we would rather feel better. Be gentle with that part of you that's coming up and speaking up, right? You're choosing that hurt part of yourself, giving it the floor for a moment. You're not letting it, essentially take over your life. You're not letting it inform your actions, but you're giving it space to be there. You're feeling that emotion. You're honoring your emotion. So that by itself is an act of choosing yourself, because you're choosing to acknowledge how you're feeling. So if you've ever felt not acknowledged, if you've ever felt not considered, if you've ever felt like your feelings don't matter to anybody, that's an opportunity for you to give that to yourself. And that's what it comes down to, is giving yourself the experiences you want to experience, including these moments. I'm angry. I'm going to give myself the space, the time to be angry. I might sit down and journal about it to get it all out of my system, or talk myself through it on a walk, or walk it off. Breathe through it, blah, blah, blah. But I'm giving myself the time. I'm putting other things aside to give myself a moment for that. But at the same time, we want to also get ready to choose how we're going to feel in general. So choosing myself meaning choosing my own peace. That's something that I prefer to experience. Feeling that turmoil is not something that I want to experience all day long, every day, and especially because it's caused by the actions or the words of another person, right? I'm sure we've heard of this, right? Like the giving a person, somebody else, the power over you. It's like they don't even have to know that that's what they're doing. You're giving them permission to do it by taking on the bad feelings because of whatever they did and going with that, letting that affect your day, your interactions with other people that have nothing to do with it, kind of sending you into a spiral, right? Choosing yourself in that instance can be as simple as saying, hey, I know I'm upset about this person. I'm not going to let that dictate how the rest of my day goes. I'm not going to let that affect my other relationships. I'm not going to allow that to, like, I'm allowing myself to be upset, but I'm not going to allow it to take up so much space in my mind, in my world, that the rest of my day, the rest of my relationships, the objectives that I have for myself, the goals that I have for myself are going to fall to the side so that I can make room for this. And this is just going to take up the forefront of my mind, you know what I mean, indefinitely or whatever. That's a different thing. Because again, while your feelings are valid, feeling upset, feeling sad, feeling afraid, it's up to you to, in that moment, choose, you know what? Yes, I am feeling this way. I'm also not going to let that get much bigger than this. I'm going to let that kind of run in the background. I'm not letting it go because, say, for example, you want to have a conversation about that. Cool, go ahead and do that. But to choose yourself in that moment is really to just remind yourself, this is not taking over my day. I'm not allowing this to disturb my peace to the point where my entire day is dictated by this. So it is, I think it does take a little bit of practice, because easier said than done, right? Because when you are triggered by somebody, depending on how important that person is to you, you might be in the very beginnings of doing this, really prioritizing yourself. And so I guess maybe, I don't know if this is a more advanced thing to do. I just think that it's such a simple thing to do. And then it's a matter of following through, which even I am I'm a work in progress about that. But if it were as simple as that, as just reminding yourself, you know what? I feel this way. I feel that what I'm feeling is valid, because it is. And I'm going to give myself my attention while I process this, and also continue to put my attention on the things that are important to me outside of this. I'm going to continue to go ahead and do my workout. I'm not going to let this bog me down so much that I then neglect my own body. I'm not going to let this affect my appetite. I need to eat. My body needs food. My body has nothing to do with this interaction, this thing that made me upset. You know what I mean? So why am I going to punish it by starving myself? I am choosing myself by, my goals. I think that was something that I have been guilty of in the past as well. Is like, okay, I get caught up, I get swept up in how I'm feeling around an interaction I had with someone. And the first thing that takes a hit is my appetite. And then the next thing that takes a hit is my ability to focus with my work, And that's not fair. That's not fair. I have goals. I have objectives. I have this one body that I should be taking care of, right? So, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Letting this, and I'm saying this in a very kind and gentle way, not in a judgmental way, because I think we can all be very guilty of that, right? But when you become conscious of it, when you become aware of that, you're able to then, in a very gentle way, and a very, kind, maybe even playful way, if that feels more comfortable, just be like, hey girl, hey dude, what am I doing? Why am I being so silly? Of course I'm upset. Of course I'm valid in being upset right now. Valid in my triggers. Of course I'm not happy with that one thing, one little bitty piece in my life. But I get to decide if I want that little bitty thing to blow up and take over my entire day, or just allow that to be there, and at the same time, like, it'll process, right? And at the same time, choosing to turn my attention to the things that are important to me, that matter, that need my focus, and it might take practice, but it's practice that's well worth it. And again, I think it starts from that simple just decision to not let it take over your life. And then as you keep getting better and better, you start just doing that more naturally. It becomes more easy to compartmentalize that, right? Like, put that in its own room, let that be there, handle it when the time comes to handle it. And in the meantime, handle the rest of your day, handle the rest of your business. It's that added ability of compartmentalizing. So you kind of get good at putting that aside, focusing on the things that are giving you fulfillment, joy, the objectives or goals that you have to accomplish, not letting yourself get distracted, feeding yourself, taking good care of yourself. That has not fallen off because of all this or whatever's going on. And then you're able to come back to that thing feeling more regulated, or feeling more like you come back to it with a different perspective, right? Because of course, when we're spiraling on something, we blow it up and make it like a huge thing, and it just becomes a lot bigger than it actually is in our minds. So that's why it's such a good exercise to try to start getting into, is from the very beginning, remind yourself in your mind. You don't have to write this down if you don't want to. You could if it's something that you struggle to get focused into. But you want to remind yourself of how not so big this is. Maybe it is a big deal, but not so big that it's going to take over your life, right? But like, remind yourself of that. Give it its room. Put it in a little room of itself. You're not dismissing it. You're not throwing it out. You're not ignoring it. None of that. You are acknowledging that that's there. But you're also just putting it in its own room, and then turning your attention in that moment on the things that matter more to you. The things that are more important objectively. You gotta work, you gotta eat. That sort of thing. And committing to putting your attention on that fully it'll create a little space from that, so your, ability to blow that thing up starts getting weaker until it doesn't exist. And then by doing that, you can come back to it with a perspective where it's like, you know what? This is something that's upsetting. This is how I'm going to want to handle this. And you just end up coming back to that from a more regulated space. I hope all that made sense, but it's just something that I'm just musing around. I'll open up a little bit. Why not? Shouldn't I? I've got some frustration with one of my jobs, where I'm not feeling appreciated. I feel taken advantage of. Like, I feel like I'm being dictated to, which doesn't feel good to me. I don't like being told what to do. And I feel like it hinders my ability to be optimal in the work that I'm doing. I'm at my best when I have say in what I'm doing, pretty much. And so I'm feeling frustration with that. And what I'm doing to, again, choosing my peace with that going on is I am putting that aside, putting those feelings aside. Those are feelings that are still going to be there. I'm not going to ignore them. These feelings have been with me for about a week now. But what I'm not going to allow that to do is affect the work that I'm currently doing, because I am dealing with other people at work. And so this is kind of sparked from, like, I don't know if it's specific people or like a specific group of people, I guess would be, but like a specific department. But I'm not going to let that interfere with how I'm showing up for the people I'm directly working with, right? They have nothing to do with this, pretty much. Or at least the individuals that I'm going to be dealing with don't have anything to do with it. The point is, I'm not going to let that stop me from doing my job as best as possible, even when I'm frustrated with things in the back end. Also, I'm not going to let it ruin my mood for the rest of the day. I'm not going to take out my frustrations with that on my family or on my dog. Like, I'm not going to do that. And I'm hoping, I don't like say that I'm hoping to do anything. I'm just going to do the thing. But it's my intention that by creating that space and choosing my peace and reminding myself, hey, this is the kind of experience I want to have at work. This is the kind of experience I'm giving myself with when it comes to the work that I'm doing. That I am appreciated by somebody, or that I am appreciating the way I come to work, the way I do my thing. I appreciate that because I know I'm coming with a full heart, the best intentions. I'm coming from, a good space, right? So forget like being appreciated by anybody. If I was to be in the scenario where nobody appreciates what I'm doing, for some reason they still have me on, right? Then can I simply look at what I've been doing, the work that I've been doing, and appreciate that about myself? Which, when you think about it, or when I think about it, yeah, I can, because I appreciate the fact that I'm thorough. I appreciate the fact that I get real down deep into the work. And I appreciate the fact that I do, I just appreciate how I go about this. I appreciate the fact that I feel like I am like a sort of a natural at this. I'm good at everything that I dedicate myself to, I've noticed, because I'm so interested and motivated to learn more about that I'm good at that. So I don't know if this is rambling. I don't know if I need to get into any of that, but I'm giving a specific example of something in my life that has sort of triggered me thinking about this. How do I choose myself in this moment? Considering I'm triggered as hell. And I wanted to pick something that wasn't like romantic relationship related or friendship related, like personal relationship related, because it's not just about that. It won't always be that scenario that has you in a situation where you're not choosing yourself. And it takes some active like checking in with yourself to realize the areas, the things, the people, whatever, that are sparking that in you, that immediate self-abandonment, and just kind of recognizing what that looks like so that then you can counter it, you know? So I thought that this was going to be a simple enough maybe step to take, which, just to summarize: 1, acknowledge how you're feeling, because your feelings are valid. And sometimes that by itself is enough, by the way. You know, like just acknowledging how you're feeling and not judging yourself for feeling that way can be enough to sort of help that process and work through, right? You know, if it's not really like lifting, so to speak, just by doing that alone, being able to put it aside, not ignoring it, but just putting it aside, like, hey, you're going to run in the background right here, but let me put my attention on these other things, getting that fresh perspective and creating that little bit of space so that you can come back with a clearer view of the situation, so that then you can act accordingly. It's going to take a little bit of practice, and it's especially tricky when you are in the midst of your feelings about it or about the person. But it's something that I do think is worthwhile, because again, at the end of the day, choosing yourself, cultivating that relationship with yourself, that's unshakable and unaffected by whatever fuckery is going on, is worthwhile. That's your peace that you're choosing. That's your feel-good emotions that you're choosing. That's the appreciation that you may not have gotten from other people, but God damn it, you're getting it from yourself, that you're choosing to experience and gifting yourself with, right? So it's worth it. It's worth it. If it's tricky, again, you might not be at a point where you can just talk yourself through that in your mind. Write it down. Make this a journaling thing. Have a journal available to you at all times so that you can sit down and write stuff. Sometimes when I'm in an especially triggered mood, I'll take like just scrap paper and just scribble down every emotion that I'm feeling, every thought that I'm feeling, whatever it is, no judgment. Let's just dump it onto the paper, all the bad stuff I'm feeling. And sometimes that helps me like really process and release it all, because then when I'm done with that paper, I don't crumple it up, because I do have a little bit of like a paranoia about somebody finding that and be like, who is this unhinged person? But I do all that, and then I, find a safe place to set it on fire and make a ritual of it, where I'm like, okay, it's been dumped, I'm releasing it now with fiery passion, fiery power, love things. You know what I mean? Like, so we can get into that another time. About like some of the interesting and fun ways that I've made a ritual of something like this. But this is just like a suggestion too. And I'm hoping that it'll be a little bit simpler. Again, if it's not, then definitely start off writing it down until it becomes more of a natural thing that you're doing with yourself in your mind. And I'm hoping that this time I will hope that anybody who does give this a try feels like it's helping them with their journey of choosing themselves. Okay, because again, we are worth the effort. And so I just wanted to share an additional little thing that I'll be doing more actively now. I might even actually have to get a journal out for this, because I think I have deeper levels of stuff to work through, and it does probably mean that I'm going to need to do more than just think about it. Although this is definitely helping with talking, so I'm not going to turn this into a venting channel, but I think it does help to do this too. And it might help you as well. If you find that writing is too much, but maybe talking it out and maybe on camera for yourself is better, that's an idea too. Think about what's exciting you emotionally to do for this release, and just go do it. You're worth it. I know I'm worth it. I know damn well I'm worth it. I say it, but I really freaking mean it, and I plan on meaning it all the way, like, to the end. Oh, I'm rambling. All right, anyway, bye.